The Four Dangerous Bedtime Habits, a journey to better sleep for those over 70. Margaret was a spry 72-year-old who lived in a quaint little home tucked away in a quiet neighborhood. Despite her advanced age, she was full of life and energy, thriving in her retired years. She would often spend her days gardening, reading books, and keeping in touch with her children and grandchildren. Margaret had always prided herself on her health, thanks to a good diet and daily walks. But recently, she had been struggling with something that seemed to have no clear cause. She just wasn't feeling rested in the mornings. She woke up groggy and lethargic, her back ached more often than not, and she seemed to catch colds more frequently. Although Margaret didn't want to admit it, she knew something needed to change, so she shared her concerns with her best friend Linda over their weekly tea. "Maybe it's just a part of getting old," Margaret said with a resigned sigh. Linda, who had always been passionate about healthy living, shook her head. "Nonsense. You've always been careful about your health. It's probably your habits before bed. Did you know that small things we overlook could be dangerous for people our age?" Margaret raised an eyebrow. Dangerous? She hadn't thought of her bedtime habits as anything special. Was it really that simple? Linda decided that Margaret needed to hear what she had learned recently from a health seminar for seniors. "I'll tell you what," Linda said. "Let's figure this out together. I'll visit you every evening this week, and we'll look at what you're doing before bed. We'll fix this, Margaret. You'll be back to your lively self. Just wait and see." Day 1. The Heavy Meal Dilemma. That evening, Margaret prepared her dinner as she always did. A hearty stew, some garlic bread, and a slice of apple pie for dessert. She and Linda sat down to eat together, chatting about family and reminiscing about their childhood years. "What time do you usually stop eating?" Linda asked, casually as they finished their meal. Margaret shrugged. "Oh, usually around now? 9:30, maybe 10 if I'm cleaning up later. Is that bad?" Linda set her fork down and looked serious. "For us, Margaret, yes. Eating late at night, especially heavy meals, can cause all sorts of problems." Margaret frowned. "But I've always been fine with it before." "Sure, but our bodies change as we age, to me. A big, heavy meal puts a lot of stress on your digestive system. It can disrupt your sleep since your stomach is still working hard while the rest of your body is trying to rest. Plus, it increases acid reflux, which is already more common for people our age." "Acid reflux," Margaret murmured. "I do feel a bit of burning sometimes when I lie down after eating. I thought it was just indigestion." Linda gave her an encouraging smile. "Try eating your dinner earlier, at least 3 to 4 hours before bedtime. And keep it lighter, soup, salad, or some fish with vegetables. Save the heavier meals for lunch. It might make a huge difference." Margaret agreed to try it, feeling hopeful for the first time in weeks. Day 2, too many late-night drinks. The next evening, Linda arrived to find Margaret sipping a steaming cup of herbal tea. She smiled. "That looks cozy. Do you drink tea every night?" "Most nights," Margaret admitted. "I find it relaxing. I also keep water next to my bed in case I wake up thirsty in the night." Linda nodded, but gently asked, "And do you get up a lot during the night to use the bathroom?" Margaret blushed slightly. "Well, maybe 2 or 3 times. It's just part of aging, isn't it?" "Not entirely," Linda replied. "It could be the liquids you're drinking in the evening. Drinking too much right before bed makes your bladder more active at night, so you have to keep getting up. It interrupts your sleep, and that restless sleep makes you feel tired in the morning." Linda explained that having some tea or water several hours before bed was fine, but drinking too much too close to bedtime was a simple habit to change for better sleep. "Try to cut back on any drinks about 2 hours before you go to bed. Your bladder will thank you." Margaret made a mental note to adjust her evening routine. She could already imagine how nice it would be to sleep through the night without interruptions. Day 3, the curious case of the warm bedroom. That night, as Linda stepped inside Margaret's house, she immediately noticed the warmth. Your house feels like a toasty cabin. Is it always this warm? I like to keep it cozy, especially at night, Margaret replied. I get chilly if it's too cold. Linda nodded thoughtfully, but said, Here's the thing, Margaret. It might feel nice at first, but sleeping in a warm room could actually make your sleep quality worse. Margaret tilted her head. Really? How? Well, our body temperature naturally drops at night as part of the sleep process. If your bedroom is too warm, it can disrupt that process and make it harder for you to fall into deep, restorative sleep. Studies recommend a room temperature around 60 to 67 degrees for optimal sleep. Cool but comfortable. Margaret frowned. But I'll feel too cold, Linda reassured her. You can always use a warm blanket or pajamas, but keeping the room cooler helps your body regulate its temperature naturally. Just try it for a few nights. You might find it easier to fall asleep and stay asleep. Margaret reluctantly agreed to lower her thermostat that evening and see how it felt. Day 4. Sleeping in the wrong position. On the final night of their experiment, Linda arrived to find Margaret already in her bedroom, arranging her pillows. She plopped down onto the bed, lying flat on her back with her arms sprawled. This is how you sleep every night? Linda asked, half joking. Sometimes, Margaret replied with a laugh. Other times I'll flip onto my stomach. It just depends on what feels right. Linda sat down next to her. Did you know that the way you sleep can have a huge impact on your body? Stomach sleeping, for instance, can strain your neck and spine, and even back sleeping can cause problems for some people, like snoring or worsening sleep apnea. So, what's the right way? Margaret asked, intrigued. For people our age, side sleeping is often the healthiest, Linda explained. It helps keep the spine aligned, reduces snoring, and can even improve your digestion. Try placing a pillow between your knees for extra support. It relieves pressure on your hips and lower back. Margaret grabbed one of her pillows and positioned it as Linda suggested. It felt surprisingly comfortable. All right, I'm willing to give it a shot, she said with a smile. A week of new beginnings. Over the course of the week, Margaret made small but meaningful changes to her bedtime habits. She ate dinner earlier and lighter, cut back on late-night beverages, adjusted her thermostat, and started experimenting with side sleeping. By the end of the week, she was already feeling a difference. For the first time in months, she woke up refreshed and energetic, ready to tackle the day ahead. Linda, you've changed my life, Margaret said brightly as they sipped tea one afternoon. Linda laughed. You did all the work. Now keep up those good habits. Sleep is so important, especially for us. And remember, just because we're getting older doesn't mean we can't feel young. Margaret nodded, feeling hopeful for the first time in ages. Life didn't have to slow down in her 70s. With a little care and attention to the details, she was ready to embrace her golden years with energy, optimism, and, above all, restful nights. Reflection. Little changes in bedtime habits can make a world of difference, especially for seniors. By addressing common mistakes like eating late, drinking too many fluids, sleeping in a warm room, or lying in unhealthy positions, anyone can improve the quality of their sleep and, ultimately, their quality of life. Margaret's story is a reminder that it's never too late to adjust our routines for the better. So, take a moment to assess your own habits. Are there small adjustments that could lead to big improvements? If Margaret could do it, so can you.